Well, aren't you a regular Nancy Drew?
We sure hope so, and we hope you are too.
Join us as we talk Nancy Drew cover to cover and click to click.
Welcome to Regular Nancy Drew. Welcome to episode 20, Regular Drews.
Hello, welcome to our Nancy Drew board games episode.
We're
so excited to be sharing this special content with you today.
Yes, we also have some special guests here with us today.
Yes. Do you guys want to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name's Daniel.
Dan, what's your Nancy Drew story?
I'm not sure if I have one, to be honest. I knew about Nancy Drew growing up, but it's not something I had ever read.
Do you remember how you ever learned about Nancy Drew? Was first in context?
I'm honestly not sure.
She's just such
it's
just a cultural icon that just everybody knows her.
Well, it's not quite like that in the UK.
Really?
No, not as much anyway. I mean, I'm not sure if we have.
Do you have a Nancy Drew figure in UK literature? Is there another young detective?
Not sure, honestly.
Okay.
Nancy Drew is a thing in the UK.
I mean, I always say something isn't a thing, and then it turns out that it
But
is.
I think Nancy is a really big American cultural touchstone, though. And she's definitely branded as being this the all-American girl kind of a character. Mm-hmm. So I can see how it wouldn't necessarily be as popular in another country.
Right.
Okay, April?
Hi, my name is April. I am a childhood friend of both Becky and Corey, and I'm also friends with Daniel, but we are not childhood friends. And I guess my Nancy Drew story is I never read Nancy Drew as a kid, even though it's a target audience, completely bystepped it. I did Boxcar Children for a little bit, that's it. And I actually read my first Nancy Drew book ever this year when Corey gave me a few, and I read the very first Nancy Drew book, the one with the old clock.
Secret of the Old Clock?
Secret of the Old Clock.
Okay.
And I just started Shadow Ranch, and that, otherwise I've listened to the podcast. I know most about Nancy. I learned more about Nancy Drew from the podcast than I did just from the popular zeitgeist.
Yeah. How are you enjoying reading them so far?
I think I told you guys that I was actually surprised a little bit that some nights I was I'm just going to read chapter 2, and I was I really want to keep going, but I'm I need to go to sleep. I'm the responsible adult.
Nancy Drew.
Because I'm just I can tell she's coming in on the mystery. I gotta figure it out. But
they also leave you on those cliffhangers.
Yes, very much so. Those, oh no, what is that? Chapter ends.
Mm-hmm. And then sometimes the next chapter turns out to have been absolutely nothing.
Yeah. I would say, granted, I have read 1 1/4 of Nancy Drew books. That seems to be every time.
Yeah.
The dark figure in the doorway. Oh, it's just Carson coming home early. Okay. In Regular Drews, I will say, I don't know if we've said this before, but when we were first getting started, April was nice enough to be our kind of guinea pig first listener. So it's kind of exciting, to have you as our kind of first special guest on the episode.
Yeah, I was helpful in the fact that I didn't know the books, so when they had me listen to the first one, I said, I don't know what the plot of the book is.
Yeah. I think that book didn't know what the plot of the book was, though, to be fair.
Yeah, for some of them. But we're glad to have you all here with us today playing these games.
Yes, and first up on our list of games to play is the Nancy Drew Mystery Game, which was released in 1957. Mm-hmm. So this is an old antique game, and honestly, it was very expensive. You cannot easily find them.
Right.
This was about $100, and the box is absolutely falling apart. But the board game is still in pretty good condition. It's a little warped, but it's beautiful. I mean, it's a pretty board game. It's got this great kind of almost a seafoamy green background with all of these different locations painted on it. So just really, really pretty.
I'm gonna pull up the other cover here.
Does it have an alternate cover?
There is. So it was released. Okay, this was released in 1957 and then again in 1959, and they did a different artwork. So I was just pulling up a image of the other artwork that's not on the one that you have here, so that we can kind of talk about it.
Yeah.
But let us talk about the cover art for the box art, I guess, because it is absolutely gorgeous. And let me see if I can find...
It is. It's classic. Nancy is in like a red raincoat. It's raining in the background. And she's shining this flashlight on the title of the Nancy Drew mystery game. And this, I guess, kind of haunted-y house looking in the background. It's that is some of the best illustration work that I've seen, because it's just so kind of classic. I don't know how to describe that.
We do have a nice, Stratemeyer Syndicate label on there, which is obviously a nice nod to the time period, because the Stratemeyer Syndicate was still around at this point.
Yeah, that's amazing. It is honestly just it's one of the old school versions where the instructions are printed on the lid of the box. Mm-hmm. And so this was released by Parker Brothers, who, I guess, HQ was in Salem, Massachusetts at the time, which is crazy to think about, such a massive board game company being headquartered in Salem, which just didn't seem like seems now like it wouldn't be such a mecca of board games, but I don't know, maybe they're still there, I don't know. Mm-hmm. But at the very bottom on the box it says, questions on the Nancy Drew mystery game will be answered gladly if a 3-cent stamp is enclosed, and they put their address there.
How sweet.
So cute! So mail in your questions to Parker Brothers to have them answer questions on how to play the game.
So sweet.
Precious. Oh, that is a cool looking cover too.
So I've pulled up an image here of the 1959 box art for the game, and it's, generally the same idea for the image. There's no background. It's just Nancy in the rain in her raincoat, shining a flashlight on the Nancy Drew mystery game words.
Yeah,
I do like y'all's box better because it's really striking. I think your box more than that one.
I do like that.
It feels like the title is more thoughtfully put in with the imagery, whereas that one's we're just going to create a blank space, and that's where the title's going to go.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Do you want to run us through a little bit of an overview of what the gameplay is and how we win?
Yes, absolutely. So, basically we have a board game here, and we are going to be going around the board game and trying to fill up the letters of Nancy next to each location. The goal is to find where Nancy Drew is, and you find where Nancy Drew is by getting all of your tokens on to fill up Nancy, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. And there are little cards that you can pick up and different instructions on the different game tiles. It's pretty simple, honestly. In rules, it seems very similar to Sorry to me. And that you have to just go around the game board until you can get where you need to go. But I'm interested to see what some of the mystery cards say, to see if it changes anything up.
So it's a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. If I get to fill out the Nancy on Redgate Farm, that just means that's where she is now.
Yes,
I didn't find her at Redgate Farm. I
summoned her.
Exactly.
This
is a Nancy summoning game.
Yes.
Ouija board for Nancy Drew.
So I will say the different locations on the board game are the Haunted Bridge, Blackwood Hall. Of course, we have the Drew home, which honestly, this is a very interesting picture of the Drew home, because I feel like in quite a few of the iterations of the Drew home that we've seen, I think in movies and TV shows and stuff, it's much more colonial, grander. But this seems kind of a little bit of a farmhouse.
A little bit, yeah. It's red.
Which is just not the style that I would have pictured it. But anyway, we also have the Old Attic from, Secret of the Old Attic. Right. The Sign of the Twisted Candles, the Moss-Covered Mansion, a spiderweb, but that is...
That's basically jail in Monopoly, where you get stuck and you have to work your way out.
Hollow Oak, Redgate Farm, Tolling Bell, and Moon Lake. So, hey, Moon Lake. We finally get a call back to Moon Lake.
Yes.
So that's exciting. Yeah, so those are all the different locations where Nancy could possibly... Well, aside from Moon Lake. She can't be in Moon Lake. Moon Lake adds a little bit of a different gameplay element where you have the opportunity to take a detour through or on Moon Lake Bridge. So
awesome.
Yeah.
All right, regular Drews, I think we are going to get into this game, and then we'll be back afterwards with our review.
Hell yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I landed on a star.
So what happens with the star? Do you draw a card?
You pick a mystery card.
Okay.
And you do what it says.
Mystery card. The search continues. Place 2 markers on any 2 vacant spaces.
Okay, so you can choose where you want to put those. Nancy, where are you? Remove one marker from any location and replace with one of your...
Becky wins.
Hey guys! I found Nancy! She's at the sign of the Twisted Candles.
I tried,
Nice.
guys. I tried.
You did a good job.
That's cute!
Yeah, it
No,
was
I
a good
enjoyed
one.
it.
And the game went
That's
long
fun.
enough that like we actually understood the game.
Yeah.
And it didn't last too long.
Yeah.
It looks like it was about maybe half an hour for that round. Okay, so now that we've finished the game, congratulations, Becky, on your win.
You, thanks. Listen, am I a champion? Yes.
Yes.
But did I need this game to confirm that for me? No. And not that it didn't help, but...
As one of the Nancy Drew novices, I really felt like when we started the game, Corey and Becky were kind of like, it's obviously our birthright for one of us to win. And they didn't really take me and Daniel seriously, but Daniel did a really good job of holding the line, and me and Corey both had Becky on the straights there for a minute.
I wonder if a good strategy to the game might be to, form an alliance.
Yeah.
A bit like, a Big Brother kind of scenario where it's like, okay, we got to stock up our pieces on these two spots or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that might be the way to go, because I think Dan had the right idea in that you need to make sure that spaces are blocked, but clearly you can't be successful doing that on your own.
It'd also be interesting how it played, because it can be played with only 2 or 3 players. So maybe that strategy works best with one of the numbers too. Maybe that strategy doesn't work as well as you're only playing with 2 people versus 4.
Right.
Or maybe it works even better.
Yeah. Interesting. But I think overall, cute little game.
Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely doesn't, it's definitely not, anything super complicated or intense. But I think it was fun, especially considering the fact that this is from the 1950s.
Right.
I can see why kids would have liked this game and wanted to play it.
Yeah.
But it's also, it's Parker Brothers, so it's of course it's kind of good.
It's going to be a solid game, right?
Yeah. It's kind of like you were saying earlier, it's kind of like Sorry. It's a game you can play that doesn't take too long, but you'll have fun with. But it's not like Monopoly, where it's like, what are you doing tonight? Nothing else. It's Monopoly time.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely could have gone a lot longer than it did, but there was a good amount of strategy involved that I didn't expect. Mm-hmm. So it was nice.
Yeah.
Solid board game overall.
Yeah.
But
Flashlight scores?
I think I'm going to give it 4 flashlights.
Wow.
Going into it, I think it might have been a 3, but once I started to see how it all came together,
Yeah.
it raised itself up a notch there on the point. So, what about you?
Well, Dan, you go first.
I agree. I think I'd give it 4 flashlights.
4?
It was
Okay.
good. I had fun.
Cool. April?
I'm gonna be honest with you, and it's not because I will say it's just because typically I either play, I normally do, I know I'm not the only person in this, but I normally play D&D,
Yeah.
and then my kind of 2 favorite games are the games where it's really involved, I'm thinking about it a lot, or the games where it's kind of nothing and I'm just kind of moving through the motions like solitaire and stuff like that.
Sure.
So just because it's not my favorite kind of game, I'm gonna put it at 3 out of 5 flashlights. Not because I think as I say 3, I think it's a perfectly fine game. If you like this sort of game, it's great. It's just not one of my personal favorites. So it completely bias 3 out of 5 flashlights.
Yeah, I have to say that I agree. I don't know if it's just that my standards for games are a little bit higher, but I definitely think it was a cute game, a fun way to maybe pass half an hour, but if it started to go on any longer, I would start to get a little bored. You know what I mean?
It is a little repetitive.
Yeah.
You just keep going around the board and knocking people out.
And also, I just have high expectations for the other games that hopefully we're going to play. So I want to save my high scores for things that I feel really deserve it.
That's fair.
3 out of 5 flashlights. Yeah. So 3.5, I think, is our average.
Cool.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Worth a look at.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
All right, regular Drews, let's move on to our second board game of the evening.
The one I'm so excited about.
I've been waiting to play this one since the day I got it. I've been so excited.
It is Mystery at Magnolia Gardens, the new Hunt-A-Killer Mystery in a Box game that was released in September of this year. September, I told you the date and I already forgot
I think
it.
you said September 8th, but very recently.
Yes.
So this is a medium level difficulty from Hunt-A-Killer. I've never played any of their other Mystery in a Boxes. Have you?
Well, I played their subscription box
Okay.
a little bit, but I was not a big fan of it just because I felt like I wanted like answers, and I wanted to know like if I was right or not about like the things that I believed about the clues and stuff.
Right.
But it was just a lot more research that seemed like open-ended. And so I wanted a conclusion, I wanted a solution, and so I wasn't a big fan of the subscription of Hunt-A-Killer, but I'm very excited to try one of their box ones, because obviously it's mystery in a box, so the solution is there and can be found and referenced, so yeah, I'm really excited to try it and see what it's like.
And this is a 1+ player game. We've got all 4 of us here again playing this one. This one I believe is actually... Well, there is a Nancy Drew mystery story of the same name, Mystery at Magnolia Gardens, but I have no idea if this one is supposed to be based off that, if it just shares the name, or if it's kind of inspired by that. So that'll be interesting to kind of discover as we play this. So.
Yeah. I'll just read the back of the box really quickly. So, team up with Nancy Drew to solve a thrilling new case. When Nancy Drew begins to investigate a potential poisoning at the botanical garden known as Magnolia Gardens, Nancy herself comes down with the same mysterious illness as the victim. It soon becomes clear to an ailing Nancy that someone at Magnolia Gardens has been using the facility's dangerous plants for nefarious purposes. The guilty party is still on the loose, and Nancy needs your help to solve the case before the culprit strikes again. Will you and Nancy Drew be able to unearth the truth? 1. Examine all the evidence. 2. Eliminate suspects. 3. Catch the culprit. And it is quoted as being the perfect activity for mystery lovers and aspiring detectives.
So I guess we can get into an unboxing here.
Yes! Oh my
Never
god,
even
oh my
opened
god,
it
oh my god, oh
before.
my god, oh my god. I'm so excited. Okay.
That just reminds me of a playbill.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we
it does
have
kinda
like a
look
little
like a
bit of a
playbill.
playbill thing that is the game manual. So we'll read that in a second.
Our solution is here.
Oh, yes, the solution. Do not open until you're sure you know who the culprit is. Oh, okay, so to access spoiler-free hints and to receive an exclusive epilogue after you solve the case, go to mystery@magnolia.com.
Interesting.
To know.
Just so you know, regular Drews, we are going to be divulging
Yes.
the answer to, or the solution to this game, but we will give you a little bit of a warning in case this is something that you are planning to play yourself. Obviously, this just came out, so I imagine a lot of our fellow detectives really want to play this game, so we'll give you a little warning before we actually divulge who the culprit is.
Corey.
Go ahead.
Corey.
What's up?
It starts with a letter from Nancy Drew.
Yes! Do you want to read it to us?
Okay, yes, sure. So, hello. There's trouble at Magnolia Gardens, a botanical garden in my hometown of River Heights. I need your help to get to the bottom of it before anyone gets hurt any worse than they already have been, including myself. Let me explain. Yesterday, I went to visit Magnolia Gardens' new exhibit on poisonous plants, Fatal Flora. I've been invited on a personal tour by the garden's director, a family friend named Florence North. When I arrived, Florence invited me into her office for a cup of tea. Okay, I'm sorry. Real quick. My initial assessment, Florence did it.
Yeah, so if Becky ends up right, she's going to be obnoxious about this forever.
Okay. Moving on. I knew something was wrong immediately. Her pupils were dilated and she kept scratching at her arms. Okay, maybe I was wrong.
She's
I'm
been
taking it back.
poisoned, it sounds like.
I asked Florence how she was doing. She told me she'd started to feel ill soon after the Fatal Flora exhibit opened 3 days earlier. When I pressed her for more information, she said she'd been wondering if she was spending too much time breathing in pollen and spores from the toxic plants in the new exhibit. That sounds
Interesting.
like it could be logical.
Right.
Why do you have toxic plants in an exhibit?
Well,
That
it's an
seems-
exhibit on Fatal Flora. So,
but
like,
how
the...
close are they allowed? Is she the person taking care of the plants?
I-
Otherwise,
it
if she's
sounds
just
like it.
visiting it, it seems like there should. Basically, I'm saying maybe OSHA should have been called.
Well, it reminds me of what is that garden in England with all of the...
Kew Gardens.
Yeah. They have all the deadly plants. So that's what this reminds me of. But I imagine that people who take care of those gardens have to wear, like, protective gear and stuff when they're handling...
Yeah, I mean, most of the plants are deadly if you eat them.
Right. But anyway, okay. By the time she was done explaining, we'd finished our tea. Okay, it's in the tea, guys. It's obviously in the tea. I offered to clean up the cups. That's when I saw a mysterious pink stain on the bag that held her tea strainer. All right, yes. The pieces fell into place for me in an instant. I asked Florence if she drank this particular tea regularly. She replied she had a cup every morning. Then I asked how many people had access to her office. She responded that she usually kept the door locked when she wasn't inside, but she'd forgotten to close up on the night the Fatal Flora exhibit opened. Florence gasped when she finally realized what I was getting at. Someone must have poisoned her loose leaf tea. I knew that with the culprit still on the loose, there wasn't much time to waste. I had to start talking to suspects and tracking down clues, and that's exactly what I did. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to solve the case before the poison started to take effect that evening. It affected me more strongly than it did Florence, likely because Florence takes her tea with a heavy pour of milk, and I take mine plain. I'll likely be discharged from the hospital in a few days, but that's not soon enough, not with the poisoner still at large. Since I'm still too sick to close the case myself, I need your help. I've enclosed the evidence I gathered from the gardens and the notes I took. During my preliminary investigation, I was able to narrow it down to 5 suspects. The rest is in your hands. You need to figure out which of our 5 suspects poisoned Florence's loose leaf tea on the night the Fatal Flora exhibit opened. As you may already know, you'll need to figure out which suspect had the means, motive, and opportunity to poison her. If you find evidence that any suspect doesn't have either means, motive, or opportunity, you can safely consider them to be innocent. If I were you, I'd start by looking through my case notes and suspect profiles. They should give you some content as you begin to dig into the rest of the evidence. After that, you should look through the rest of the evidence to see what you find. It's up to you. Nancy Drew.
Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that this is the first ever incidence of Nancy
going to the
not
hospital?
taking a case due to health reasons. Actually taking her health seriously. So I'm glad to step in on her behalf and help with this mystery. All right, I guess let's finish going through the box here. We've got a few other pieces of paper. And then what else do we have in here? We've got an image of some plants, like a flower bouquet. That's pretty. A page of, looks like Florence's notes.
I would like to point out that when Becky was handed one of the items, she immediately pulled it up to the light to see if there's some sort of watermark.
Or, any kind of difference in, like maybe there's
secret messages of some kind.
Listen, I have played a hunt to killer thing before, and there definitely were secret messages in some of the clues that they gave. So
we have a brochure on what Fatal Flora is.
So cute.
A little pamphlet for Magnolia Gardens in River Heights. Lists of all the plants that they have there. And then inside the box, we've got a postcard, Greetings from Magnolia Gardens, and it's got a little color-coded secret message on the back. That'll be fun.
Oh my
to decode.
God!
We've got a few packets of seeds. We got watermelon, carrots, and snow peas.
Okay.
A sticky note.
I don't think they're real seeds.
Some sort of little canvas pouch. Should we open it?
Yes.
It's got a little pink paint swatch on the bag.
Or a stain.
We've got silica gel.
Yeah. I wonder if that's part of it. Probably not.
It's a tea strainer.
So this must be the tea strainer that she mentions in the letter, because she says in the letter, wherever the letter went. Do you have it?
I do, sorry.
She says in the letter that that's when I saw a mysterious pink stain on the bag that held her tea strainer.
Oh, okay.
So
then
that's what that is.
And then we do have a little, tin box that says Magnolia Gardens on it. It has, a sticky note. And then it is locked with a 3-number combination lock.
Fuck yeah!
Sounds like we got stuff inside here. Are we going to have to make tea? Because we've got a tea strainer. Are we going to have to,
Surely not.
What's in these packets?
Nothing.
There's nothing in the seed packets.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
they're
yeah.
empty, but
But Daniel was looking at them. Daniel has a bit of a green thumb and was instantly interested in seeds.
And it's like a real seed packet.
Gives you all
Packets
sorts
do
of...
have that.
There's all sorts of information on the back about, which climate it does well in, information.
So I don't know what it is about me that, like, I immediately go to, like, who created it? Who is credited for this or whatever? The Acker Family Seed Company. That's on the back of these. I just did a quick glance at the back of this brochure, and there are special thanks.
and it's got some of our suspect names on it.
It sure does, but also has Carson Drew's name on it.
Carson.
Samantha Kincaid, Laura H. Lethish, in honor of Felix Gallup Torres. Oh, so she probably passed away. Gertrude Robertson, Lawrence Rolfe, Ezra Streetman, Anna Taylor Wong, and Maxwell Tremblay III. So she suggested that we go through her notes first.
Okay, so I think that there was
So we
a
can do
note
that?
sheet here.
Well, there's all of these.
Oh, that. Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I imagine that's what these are.
Okay.
All right. Symptoms. Florence reports the following symptoms: throbbing headaches, dilated pupils, uncomfortable rashes up her arms, irregular heartbeat, vivid nightmares of being chased through the Magnolia Gardens hedge maze by an unknown assailant. I'm glad we're listing that as a symptom and not just, oh, hey, I had a scary nightmare.
Perhaps it's one of these other characters.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Florence's office. Florence keeps her office locked whenever she's not inside. She's the only person with the key. I first noticed a strange pink stain on the cloth container that holds her tea strainer. Upon further investigation, I found similar finger-shaped stains all around the area where Florence keeps her tea and on the doorknob to her office. The night of the poisoning. Florence says she always keeps her office door locked, but that she accidentally left it unlocked on the night the Fatal Flora exhibit opened. That was the only opportunity that the culprit had to poison the tea. Here's what I know about that night. The Fatal Flora exhibit opened 3 days before my visit on Tuesday night. The opening reception event for the exhibit began at 6:45 p.m. From 7 to 8 p.m., Dr. Latour was scheduled to deliver a lecture on the chemical properties of some of the poisons found in the exhibit's flowers, and a post-lecture reception was held from 8 p.m. to 8:30.
Okay.
So that's our timeline. We'll have to
8:30.
nail down, well, or 6:45 to 7.
Oh, okay.
But this gives us a timeline for the night, and
Right.
so we'll have to find who was accounted for at when. You know, I imagine it's going to be a little bit like a logic puzzle.
April's already taking notes.
Okay. Evidence collected. Interviewed possible suspects, took notes. So that must be what's on the back of these suspect cards. Nancy's notes from their interviews. Took the strainer and stained strainer bag from Florence's office as evidence. We also have that. When Florence came back from the lecture, she found a bouquet and a postcard right outside her office door.
So that must be the picture of the bouquet that we got, and then this little pink postcard with the paint swatches on the back.
Made a sketch of the bouquet and took the postcard as evidence. That's what Nancy says. Asked Florence if any of her employees had gotten into any trouble lately. She gave me a report she'd written about Parker. So Parker's been in trouble recently. Took a map of Magnolia Gardens to guide me around. Kept an eye out for the items that Heather said were stolen from the gift shop. Found the packets and tin in a trash can outside the main building. The tin is locked, but there's definitely something inside. Found a notebook on the ground inside the old greenhouse, which is strange since nobody's supposed to be working there anymore. I took the most recent page since it appears that it to have been written during the week of the poisoning. That must be the page with the notes, though. Yeah, that must be what that is. Found an interesting looking fax in Dr. Latour's office, borrowed it. Saw a checklist on a communal refrigerator in the administrative building. Looks like tensions were high between Sherwood and Tara, the week the exhibit opened. Borrowed that as well. Missing plants. As I searched Magnolia Gardens for clues, I noticed that some of the garden's plants had recently had cuttings taken from them. I asked Florence about it, and she said that there was no reason that anyone should be taking cuttings from plants on display. I wonder who took all these plants and what their motivations could have possibly been. The following plants have had cuttings taken: air plant, azalea, bleeding heart, chamomile, jelly bean plant, lily of the valley, oleander, Venus flytrap, and wolfsbane.
So everyone,
start
all of our
reading.
suspects, they work for the Gardens in some form or fashion. And just as a basic of relationships, Sherwood and Parker. Sherwood is Parker's uncle.
Okay.
Sherwood and Florence were up for the same promotion but Florence got it. Florence is, according to Oliver, romantically involved but keeping it quiet. And Heather does not have a very good relationship with Florence because she says that Florence doesn't seem to she doesn't think Florence respects her as much as the old director did.
Okay.
And then
So who
Tara isn't on here, but Tara just also works there, and she's really smart. Apparently, she did the lecture.
Oh, I did want to point out,
Oh.
really quick though, at the top, Tom Swift Company.
Oh, nice.
That is a call out to Tom Swift, who is a
Another one of the
Another
Stratemeyer
Stratemeyer.
series.
yeah.
So, Dr. Sherwood Sanderson, age 46, he's an exhibit curator. Florence North is the director of Magnolia Gardens. She's 45. Oliver Watley is a horticulturist, and he's 38. And Corey has the other three.
Who was it that said Florence was in a relationship with someone? Oliver?
Oliver said he's in a relationship, but Heather's card actually says that she thinks it's one-sided, and because apparently she thought Oliver was waiting for Florence on a night, and she was just like, oh, take a hint, man.
Wow.
Okay, I'll run through our other three suspect cards here. First, we have Heather Shaw, gift shop manager, age 25. Parker Sanderson, our college intern, age 21. And Dr. Tara Latour, research scientist, age 29.
Okay. So I think we have a really clear objective,
Mm-hmm.
and that is we need to make some kind of timeline and cross-reference everyone's witness statements
Yes.
as to where they were, when they said they were,
Yes.
and try to find any inconsistencies with that.
yes.
Secondly, we have to figure out what this code means. Thirdly, we have to figure out what this means in relation to the seed packets.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, that was kind of really great.
Yeah, it was really involved.
It was very involved.
Yeah. there's
There
a lot
were
of-
multiple mysteries, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Quite a few different kind of plot lines that you have to follow. But a really great use of time. Definitely, I mean, if we're going to give a non-spoilery flashlight review,
Okay.
5 out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
But we also haven't read the ending.
Right.
So maybe when I read the ending, and if it's not who we think it is, I'm going to be really pissed.
Gonna have to reevaluate.
Yeah.
Gonna have to reevaluate your flashlight
Right.
rating.
Right. Because then I would just be like annoyed because it would not.
It's a dumb game.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, there's a lot of good puzzles.
Uh-huh.
I enjoyed the variety of it, having to put together, physically piece together letters, having to compare handwriting samples.
It was literally like being inside of a Nancy Drew PC game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Putting together the timeline of who was where when, looking at the map.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Yeah. 5 out of 5 flashlights.
Well thought out so far, assuming
So
that we know
far,
what's in that
assuming we are
envelope.
right in our assessment of who the culprit is, definitely worth the. Was it $45 or $50? Definitely. Well, regardless.
For this, it was 20.
Oh my gosh!
I paid 20. I don't know how much
No,
I
that's
paid.
probably right. I just don't
okay.
remember.
I was like, I
But
hope you didn't pay 50 for this.
Definitely worth the price.
Mhm. Yeah.
Definitely.
I was going to say that we got a tip from one of our regular Nancy Drews, one of y'all's friends, was saying to have scrap piece of papers because they wrote all over theirs and they couldn't reuse it.
Mhm.
And we definitely used a lot of scrap paper. And you for sure should have that ready because there is no way if we'd made all our notes on the stuff, there's no way we would have been able to reuse this.
True.
100%.
Or, I mean, honestly, make comprehensive notes. There were so many times that we had to, I don't want to spoil which puzzle it is, but were, drawing different shapes, and
Yeah.
we're like, well, that's not right, and that's not right.
Our non-spoily hint for when it comes to paper is perhaps have multiple types of paper about.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, unlike the other game that we were playing where you could play that one all day long, once you've solved this one, you've solved it.
Right.
You know, you can replay it, but you already know what's going on. Like the games. I mean, kind of the same thing. It's not like there's multiple different endings not that we know of so far.
We think. But yeah, no, and this one I think is definitely, like I said, I'm not a regular Nancy Drew yet.
Oh no, you are.
You are
But-
Nancy Drew.
Everyone is a regular Nancy Drew who wants to be.
Yeah.
This one is definitely more of a mystery and a puzzle, whereas I made the joke in the other game that it was more like a summoning game for Nancy, because wherever you decide Nancy is basically by winning is where Nancy is.
Right.
You're not solving anything.
Right.
You just like put all your eggs in one basket.
And so, on that note,
Okay, we are about to go into the solution here, so if you don't want spoilers, you'll want to skip ahead to about the 50-minute mark.
Before you unwind the solution, do we want to say what our guesses are?
yes. Okay. All right.
So can we see all the people? So we can say what our mysteries we solved for each one, and we'll lead it up to the ultimate mystery, the poisoner.
Right.
So first mystery of what was Heather doing?
Mm-hmm. She was clearly just trying to do this side hustle of selling plants because she thinks that it would be profitable and good for the gardens in the future to do that. She wants to impress Florence because she thinks that Florence doesn't take her ideas very seriously, but didn't want to cause Florence any harm, had no reason to cause Florence harm.
And we think that she was using a pseudonym where she donated all of her proceeds from selling the flowers, which also explains some of the missing cuttings. And she has a credit from Laura in the pamphlet. But yeah, she's just a young girl who really cares about her job, even though people don't think maybe she would, because she's just a quote unquote gift shop girl.
Right.
Next is Florence, our victim here, so I don't know if there's really a mystery around her besides the big one.
Yeah,
Right.
she's
She's really more of just a witness.
Right.
She got poisoned. Oliver.
Oliver's just a man in love.
Yeah, he's in love with Florence so deeply, and fortunately, Florence, it seems, is not as in love with Oliver as he is in love with her, because we believe that he left her the bouquet of flowers outside of her office with a little note like,
Which
please
spells
reconsider.
perennial, which was their secret love word.
Mm-hmm.
But I became very angry because I said it doesn't make sense in a 3D format. It only makes
does
sense in a
not.
2D format.
Right.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. So the puzzle is Nancy has drawn a sketch of this bouquet of flowers, and you're supposed to trace from like one flower to another
Based
flower
on the color
to make
matching
the
up with the
shape of a
postcard.
to make the shape of a letter.
And
But
those
if it's
letters
an
spelled out
actual
perennial.
bouquet, which is April's point, how on earth?
It's incomprehensible.
Right,
That is
right.
incomprehensible with a 3D bouquet.
Right.
It only works as a 2D. But that is not Oliver's fault.
Right.
No, and at the end of the day, Oliver, I don't think he would hurt Florence. I think
No, he
even if
loves
she
Florence.
had rejected him
He-
or something, I still don't think he would have gone to that length.
And we will say the perennial one, because, and I think part of it is because it doesn't work as a 3D, that is the one that we did have to look at the website for some hints.
Mhm.
We did figure it out once we had the hints.
No spoilers, but we did
Yeah.
take some hints for it.
And that's the only one we took the hints for, if I'm recalling correctly.
Yes.
Correct, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Our next is Sherwood.
Sherwood's allergic to tomato. That's basically the mystery for him.
Yeah.
That's the mystery of Sherwood.
He kind of clears himself just because doing any of this would have killed him before it hurt
Right.
anyone else.
Yes.
So,
So he has such a sensitivity to the poison that was used to poison Florence that if he had even touched it, he would have been gone straight to the hospital.
I will say, I do think the mystery of why Florence got promoted over Sherwood is pretty clear.
It's not a super big mystery.
Yeah, nepotism and not showing up to the opening of your own curated exhibit.
it's a little. Mhm.
He said he was really busy working, but it's like, okay, sure, Sherwood. So we solved the mystery about why Sherwood didn't get promoted.
Yeah. Let's do Tara next.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
The mystery of Tara is
She works hard. She wears her gloves.
Yep.
Yeah,
She had
She's
her
not-
notes stolen from her.
She has means, maybe a slight motive in
she's
that.
working on backups for if she needs to for funding,
Mm-hmm.
because her research is not going as well as she thought it would.
Right.
And that's,
Oh my God. Hashtag
Oh.
relatable.
I'd say the mystery of Tara is that I think it's very applicable maybe to a lot of people who do research, where she's like, I'd rather deal with someone with nepotism because that'll give me what I need.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think maybe the mystery of why Tara and Florence don't like each other very much is I think she's very science focused, and as Florence said, she's not a scientist.
Right.
The mystery of Tara is that she's put up with Parker as long as she has, is I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I just thought of this. Did Parker drop the samples on purpose?
Yeah, I was wondering that as well. Just so he
To
had a
give him
reason to,
time?
like, stay back and not get to go to the thing.
Which brings us
Right.
to...
Our main suspect, who we have
Our
narrowed it
probable
down
culprit.
to, is Mr. Parker, our intern, who is, apparently, according to Florence, not particularly reliable, doesn't take good care of research samples, doesn't make an effort to improve. She left him
Careless.
a really not nasty, but a poor performance review,
Right.
which very possible that Parker did not take that super well.
Especially because he's expecting a full-time offer upon his graduation.
Yeah.
Right.
And Tara doesn't seem to really like Parker, too. She thinks he's bad help. She thinks that he, I keep making the joke that him and Sherwood are not good about OSHA compliance. And,
He doesn't like to wear gloves, meaning that he could have been the one leaving the pink thumbprints everywhere.
everywhere.
And he also, I think he notes in his statement, can you say it really quick? He says, yeah, a lot of people don't see that in him. He's talking about his uncle. Just like how they don't see how smart I really am, but they will someday. For both of us. So he's clearly looking to prove himself in some regard. And we're pretty sure that in that regard is, solving the issue of this experiment, being successful in this experiment in place of Tara so that he can prove himself. And in order to have the time to complete this experiment, he needs to put Florence out of commission for a couple of months.
Make sure she can't cut the experiment short before he can prove that he's the smartest person, this 20-year-old child.
All right.
All right, there's that pretty yellow envelope.
Here we go.
Let's do it.
All right.
Another
So
letter
this is
from
a letter
Nancy?
from Nancy.
Okay.
Thanks to your analysis, we can make the following conclusions. Parker Sanderson is the culprit.
Yay!
He knew Florence wasn't going to hire him after his internship ended and that his uncle Sherwood had been the other choice for promotion to director. In Parker's mind, if Florence was out of the way, Sherwood would take her place, and Sherwood likes Parker enough to hire him despite his poor performance. Parker poisoned Florence to secure a job at Magnolia Gardens under Dr. Sanderson. Parker had access to Dr. Tara Latour's genetically modified tomatoes in the lab. Those samples are full of the chemical solanine, which is also found in nightshade. That's why the poison's effects were similar to the symptoms of nightshade's poisoning.
I was going to point out something we didn't know. That some of the cuttings that were missing, which all the cuttings turned out to be a red herring, was some of the cuttings were in the bouquet that Oliver made, in addition to being the bouquets that Heather was selling.
Yeah.
Right.
I just want to establish what we know because I think we did a good job.
I think we did a good
We did a great job.
covering all the clues. Yeah.
We can tell Parker used the samples because of the pink stains in Florence's office. Dr. Latour's notes say that the samples leave pink stains when handled without gloves. Tara had the same stains on her lab coat, which proves the connection between the stains in Florence's office and the tomatoes in the lab. The stains also prove Sherwood wasn't the culprit. Sherwood can't handle Tara's samples without gloves due to his severe allergy. We know the stain was created by a bare-handed culprit, so Sherwood is off the hook. Oliver Watley seemed suspicious at first, since Florence broke his heart. However, the coded message in the bouquet left on her doorstep was perennial, a word that had a strong romantic significance to the two of them. Oliver was still in love with Florence, which suggests he didn't have a motive to poison her. Additionally, the ring inside the tin of the culprit's belongings was from River Heights Garden Society. Oliver doesn't belong to that club, and therefore doesn't own that
But
ring.
Parker does.
Heather Shaw left a sales ledger in the old greenhouse. Deciphering it showed that Heather was stealing plant cuttings and selling them, but her motivations weren't selfish. The name of the donor, Laura H. Lethish, is an anagram of Heather Shaw.
I was wondering that.
Oh!
I actually thought of that, 10 minutes ago, but we were so busy doing other things I forgot to mention because it didn't matter at that point.
Heather was donating her proceeds back to the botanical garden. She was going to reveal her sales to Florence to convince Florence to sell plants at the gift shop. That means that she didn't have any motive to poison Florence. The page also gives Heather an alibi during the time Florence's door was unlocked. Heather was busy at the opening and then making a sale in the greenhouse. She had no opportunity to poison tea. Dr. Latour had a strong motive, thinking Florence would uproot her research project. However, she had no opportunity to poison the tea either. On the night of the opening, Tara gave her lecture and went straight to a call with the Tom Swift Company. Oh,
we did miss that
We
detail.
missed that. In a desperate bid to secure funding that could save her research.
We did know she was looking for additional funding,
Yeah.
which is why
Makes
one of the
sense.
reasons why we didn't think she was going to go to murder or poisoning.
Right.
She stayed on the call until after the door was locked again. When I first visited Magnolia Gardens, I never would have guessed there were so many secrets buried just beneath the surface. I'm glad you could help me dig them up. As you can see from the article I've sent, I've passed our findings on to Florence, who, like me, has thankfully made a full recovery, and to the authorities. I hope we get to work together again someday, but let's hope that next time I won't have to get poisoned first. Your friend, Nancy Drew. And then we have this little article. It's a very pretty paper that says, "Coming soon to Magnolia Gardens, blooming friendship and blossoming love, an exploration of feelings through flowers."
Oh my gosh, are Florence and Oliver getting back together?
Well, let's see. Okay, so this article is "Precocious Private Eyes Put Prospective Poisoner in His Place."
Oh, this is us.
So we're the precocious private
I
eyes.
guess so.
River Heights University senior Parker Sanderson has been arrested by local authorities after his confession to the poisoning of Florence North, the head of Magnolia Gardens, and Nancy Drew, beloved local detective. Sanderson, a now former intern at Magnolia Gardens, admitted to placing toxic samples of a genetically modified strain of tomato into North's canister of loose-leaf tea, which she kept in her office and habitually drank from each morning. Asked to comment on his nephew's actions, Magnolia Gardens curator Sherwood Sanderson, Ph.D., expressed surprise and horror and claimed complete ignorance of the plot. Suspicious.
I do believe. I
believe it too.
I think
Yeah.
he's a little bit oblivious.
But I think it could be open to interpretation.
I think he assumes the best about his nephew.
Evidence of Parker Sanderson's crime first came to the attention of the River Heights Police Department when it received a tip from none other than Nancy Drew herself. Drew, who has since recovered from the ill effects of the poison, fell victim to the younger Sanderson's toxic tincture when she accepted a cup of tea from North during a casual visit to Magnolia Gardens. Drew, who was hospitalized for a short period, called on the help of an anonymous colleague in order to get to the bottom of the case. The two worked together to successfully unearth the identity of the culprit, whereupon Drew turned over Parker Sanderson's name to local authorities. Upon hearing Drew's explanation, RHPD officers took Parker Sanderson in for questioning and obtained his tearful confession within the hour. The guy started trembling like a leaf in a tornado as soon as we started talking to him. It didn't take long before he was telling us everything, said the arresting officer when he asked to comment. I don't think he realized how serious his actions were until the consequences came knocking at his door. Tara Latour, Ph.D., Parker Sanderson's direct supervisor and creator of the tomato strain used in the crime, noted that she was ashamed that Parker Sanderson formed such a sinister scheme using her research, and stated that she can't believe Parker used my samples for evil. Latour went on to clarify that the tomato strain is still in its research and development stage and will only be made available to the public once it is completely safe to consume. One Magnolia Gardens employee, Heather Shaw, reflected on the revelation with surprise. Parker never seemed like the type of total creep that would literally, poison someone just because he was mad about getting a bad grade or whatever, Shaw said. I guess it just goes to show you that everybody's got weird secrets and stuff. North herself, like Drew, made a full medical recovery at this time. I'm still very shaken up by what's happened, and I'll be taking some time off work and staying with a close friend to decompress, North said in a statement to the press. After that, though, I'll be returning to my position as director of Magnolia Gardens. At the end of the day, it's where I belong, and I'll always be grateful to Nancy Drew and her fellow detective for making it safe for me again.
Hooray!
We did it.
Oliver and Florence are 100% good. Nothing like a brush with death to remind you that you love someone.
Oh my gosh.
I will say, I do think the one thing we gave Parker a little too much credit is it was less about how I'll
smart
show
he is.
them I'm going to solve this whole mystery by myself with the tomatoes, and more like, I'll show them.
I want a job.
I'm going to get the job because I'm going to get her out of the way, and then I'm just going to get their nepotism.
That, yes, true. makes
We
So-
gave
sense.
a little too much credit.
Well, I think we made him a little...
A little bit more like, mwahahaha.
Yeah, I would say egotistical in a different way than he was egotistical.
Right. Okay.
Regular Drews, thank you for coming along with us on Board Game 9.
Well, should we give? Well, I guess we shouldn't give an updated flashlight score.
Oh,
we're-
sorry, I thought we already did. But
We did a flashlight
flashlight
score
score,
before
but
we were sure we were correct.
Oh, okay. Well,
Mhm.
yeah, let's do an updated flashlight score then.
I mean, 5 out of 5.
5
Solid,
out of 5, yeah.
solid, very fun, very cute, very entertaining, good solution.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely 5 out of 5 flashlights.
Yes, I agree. It was, like I said, I've never played any of the other Hunt a Killers before, but it seemed like the way that they made this, it didn't just seem like a generic mystery in a box. It did feel like a Nancy Drew mystery.
Definitely.
So definitely had those great elements.
And it does make me very interested to play other Hunt a Killer boxes like this, because I
Yes.
feel like that's going to be super fun.
Have they done a Hardy Boys one yet? Because I know y'all are
No,
Team Hardy
I'm sure
Boys.
that's coming
No.
soon, hopefully.
Yeah. Oh, that would be amazing too.
I know, right? Maybe they would do a Hardy Boy Nancy Drew box. They have to team up together and do a super mystery box.
Super mystery box.
I like that.
As long as it takes place in
South Padre.
South Padre. All right.
Cool. Thank you, April, for being here, playing the game with us.
Yes, we lost Daniel between
Even
one
though
game
Dan had
the
to
next.
retire.
He fell asleep.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah.
Okay, regular Jews, we have another board game that we're going to start to play here. This one is called Nancy Drew Collector, published by Outset Media.
I'd only vaguely ever heard of this one, and I always just assumed it was kind of silly.
Right.
Because I was like, oh, who wants to play a game about collecting Nancy Drews? Like, are you just gonna have to like go through a deck and try to get certain cards? Like, that
Right.
sounds boring. But after reading the instructions, I don't know, it seems kind of interesting. Like a combination of Clue and, gosh, I don't know what else.
Guess Who, maybe?
Yeah, Guess Who. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I initially thought it was going to be more like Go Fish, where you're collecting different versions of the same book, but
Right.
that's not the case. And I thought it was going to be like you have to have advanced knowledge of all of these stories in order to play, and I was like, oh, that's daunting. But no,
Yeah.
it seems like all the information that you would need to know about Nancy Drew, even if you've never read a Nancy Drew book, it's there on the card. So if you're playing with other people that aren't as familiar, it's
Right.
still going to be fine and fun for anyone who wants to play.
Right.
Do you want to go over the instructions?
Yeah. So the object of the game is to reveal the target books of your competitors before they figure out your own target books. And you can only ask each other yes or no questions about the kinds of card that you have or that you're after.
Mhm. Yeah, the premise is that we are Nancy Drew collectors going to an auction and trying to figure out the other people at the auction. Are they there for the same book as us, right?
Yeah,
Basically?
roughly so. So there are different book cards that feature all, or not all of them, but many different Nancy Drew books, and they each have little descriptors of like what is in the book or what the book is
type
about.
of mystery. Yeah.
Right. And so we have a little score sheet here that lists them all, and essentially you mark off on your score sheet when you determine, after asking a competitor a question, you mark it off if you determine, like, yes, you're looking for a book from the 1930s, or no, your book is not about jewelry or not illustrated by Rudy Nappy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's generally it. And the first player to collect 3 collector cards from other players wins the game. Okay.
I think you most recently read a Nancy Drew book. If you
Yes,
remember
I
right?
think so. Okay. So I guess I will ask you, was your the book you're after illustrated by Rudy Nappy?
It was not.
It was not. Bummer.
Do you have Bestie's Bess and George in yours?
I do not.
Okay.
Is yours a ghost story?
It is a ghost story.
Ooh, okay. So then I can follow up and ask if it's a specific book.
Yeah.
So, a ghost story. Let's see, which ones are ghost stories? Is it The Clue of the Tapping Heels?
It is.
Shut up.
It is. I did not expect you to get in the first guess.
I did not either.
That was awesome. Okay, let's see.
be the only secret with Bess and George that I see. So I think that is Secret of the Golden Pavilion.
It is, and I
Okay,
think
that
this
means
makes
I
you the
win.
winner.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Okay. It's a cute little game.
It is, yeah.
It's kind of easy. I feel like you could probably play this with someone quite young.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like if we had more people playing, I think this is a 2 to 4 person player game. I feel like if we had more people, there would have been a little bit more strategy or narrowing down to do, because we would have been able to like hear other people's answers and mark that off on our list and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a little easy, quick for one round for this. But the way it's set up, you could keep doing this all day and switch out your books. So
yeah, it's also really fun to just get to see. So on the back of each of these cards, they have a little like snippet about the book, about what the book is about. And so it's just fun to just see all of these different Nancy Drew books and remember them and look at the beautiful covers. And yeah, it's a nice way to spend a little bit of time.
Yeah, I like how it gives you all the detail on the artists and everything, and get to appreciate the covers. Yeah.
So what flashlight store would you give it, Corey?
I think I'll give it a 3.5.
Yeah.
It was fun. Yeah, I like the concept of it a lot. Not as much strategy as I thought there was going to be in it. Although I think you could make it more difficult if you tried.
Well, so because we're only playing with 2 players, we didn't get to use the, what are they called? The hypothesis cards.
Mm-hmm. Where you can block someone up from making a guess.
I bet that would complicate the gameplay a little bit. And having more people would force you to apply more logic, because then you would have to start comparing like what cards, like what identifiers some person has versus another, and what cards are actually laying out on the table.
Right.
Whereas when it's 2 people, it's really just kind of a straightforward guessing game.
Is it this one? Is it this one?
Right.
Yeah, because the way I have it on my score sheet here, eventually I should have been able to go like, okay, well, if we don't have Bess and George, then I'm going to look, okay, well, I'm going to narrow it down to these and then make a note of those and then try to guess from there, but didn't really get on to that. So
what I did, and I don't know if this would be a successful strategy for a lot, but so the card that I happened to pick the second time, the collector card that I happened to pick the second time, I don't remember what it said, but it overlapped with the book that I had picked before. Oh, really? So I just picked the same book the second time.
Really?
For a different characteristic, because I was like, there's no way she would pick that one twice.
Right. I didn't even think of that being a possibility, but there's nothing stopping.
Right, yeah. So the first one, because the first one was I had to pick one with a mystery and title. Oh, and the second one is I had to pick something with a boat in it. And Mystery of the Swilling Bell is both. Yeah. So I just picked it twice.
That was clever. That was sneaky. I like that.
Yeah. And then also I could look at a different spot on the card thing, but really all I'm doing is copying the same characteristics down, so I could throw you off by like if you noticed where I was looking.
I didn't try to look, but
that's very honest of you. Yeah, but so I think I'd give it a 4 because I can definitely see the potential of it, and I do think it would be a lot more fun with more people. Yeah. And probably if you were a little drunk, I feel like this game would probably be fun if you're a little sauced.
Makes it a little harder.
A little harder, a little bit harder to focus. And it's just a fun, easy game, you know? But also, I am a big, big Clue fan, so you give me a score sheet, and I'm like,
oh, yeah.
I'm there.
Yeah, I like the structure of it.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Alrighty.
So unfortunately, April did have to go home, which is why she wasn't able to play the third game with us. But before she left, she was nice enough to sign us out. So we'll just go ahead and say thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time, Regular Drews.
Thank you for listening to Regular Nancy Drew. Email us at regularnancydrew@gmail.com. If you like this episode, make sure to rate, review, and subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram at regularnancydrew and Twitter at regularnd. You can also support us on Patreon. Patrons at the $1 level receive early access to each episode, as well as weekly bonus content. To all you regular Drews out there, thanks for listening.